are.
Here we are.
Just like magic.
There it is. The
Lake.
ducks are in Rainy Lake.
This is real life. This is what in the old days they called Crystal Beach, because this was the end of the line here. And
this is where the end of the road came?
The end of the road came.
Okay.
And they had actually public transportation from a town to come out here, and this was actually the public type beach.
Wow.
And it's beautiful sand beach in part of Sand Bay, and it's been lively. This cabin's been here for a long time.
I guess I didn't realize that. Well, I suppose at one point the road had to end somewhere other than at Shea out there. So yeah, seems to make sense. I did a little investigating since we had our last show. How many shows do you think what number show is this for us?
This would be is this 48?
No.
50?
No.
What is it?
Remember the first show we did was on September 12th, which I did not remember till I looked it up.
Yeah, okay.
So we're not quite a year yet. So this is show number 37.
37.
37.
Well, we were shut down for
yeah, we had a couple weeks off there with the start of the virus and whatever else. But we've been since like April 28th, we've only missed 1 week. So we've been busy.
Sports goes on. What can you say?
Sports is in full swing.
Fledged.
I see you got the Twins on the top. Is that where you want?
I kind of have just a little bit of an outline of where I want to go, and I'm sitting there looking and watching the game last night, and the Twins are in total command, and then everything kind of schlupped up, and the Pirates came back and drilled them, and you know what I mean. You can't really blame the Twins. They started off with really good starting rotation, and then everybody got hurt.
Huh?
And then Miata, he had a great game yesterday, and so he goes.
Minus that 3-run home run that he gave up.
That was the only one that he gave up, but he goes 5-3, and he's on his way to winning his third. And we've been relying on because that bullpen is a great bullpen and getting better. But what, they won one game all by themselves last week.
Yeah. I don't want to get nervous or whatever, but down the stretch, when you think about a 60-game schedule, only 60 games. When you go into the 8th inning with a 5-3 lead, you think with a team like this, you're going to win more than your fair share, and they probably will. But I think this was a good one. Maybe wake them up early in the season.
It really would. They're 10-3, and they're ahead of Cleveland by 2.5 games. And at this point, I mean that might not mean much, but indeed it kind of does because, well, as you know, numbers tell the tale.
Numbers tell the tale, and last week I said everybody we both kind of agreed that Luis Arraez should be the leadoff guy, and we must have put a severe jinx on him.
Yeah, must have.
because he had an 0-for-16 stretch this past week, and I even had to sit him down on my fantasy league team because I didn't know if I could trust him anymore. But
and Big Max, he's willing to hit one anytime you get a chance. So hey, you just let the Bombers do it, and I guess that's kind of the way it is till they get it all.
Yeah, Twins went 3-1 against Cleveland, who everybody figured is kind of their stiffest competition. They went 7-1 on their homestand. As you mentioned, 10-3 up 2.5 games, and they've looked really, really good. The pitching's been maybe better than I even thought it could be. And the league batting average. They mentioned in yesterday's game that Cleveland, I think they said Cleveland, as a team is batting 192.
Ooh.
Think about that. That means they're only getting one. Usually a team's batting average is 250, 250, 260, in a typical season. The best team's probably up around 270 as a team. They're batting 192, and they're only 2.5 games.
Yeah. They got exceptional pitching, and that's what they're relying on, whether they can. But hey, 7:05 tonight, Smeltzer goes against Junis for the Royals, and I'll tell you what, Nelson Cruz held those Royals by the nose last year, and I suspect he's going to grab them by the nose and give them a swat again. So I'm looking for some big things from Nelson.
Yeah, Odorizzi gets his first start of the season
Sunday?
Tomorrow. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And Bailey and Hill are both on the IL for 10 days, and they're trying to make it sound. Bodelli's doing a pretty good job of making it sound. Wow, we're just resting them. We're being careful. Blah, blah, blah. So there are some things there, but the Twins, like I said, have looked good. What did you see the drone on Tuesday?
Yes, I did see the drone. Yeah. The drone came right over and went right over, and I can't remember who was playing center field.
Buxton was out there.
Buxton was center field, and he's looking, and it was right over his head. And I'll tell you what.
Made a beeline for the dugout and didn't stop.
They did not stop.
You just don't know.
No, not these days. Yeah, that was pretty strange.
Cardinals are the team, the Miami Marlins this week. Just another positive test today. I think if I read right there, up to 13 positive tests. They had their the first game of their weekend series postponed today. It looks like they'll probably could happen some more. So the news kind of settled down with the virus in sports, and minus the Cardinals, and
the Marlins went to Baltimore and beat the Orioles. So
with a bunch of ragtag.
Who knows? Who knows what they had?
So
baseball's pretty interesting.
Baseball's been interesting.
Yeah,
I might as well finish the baseball with my weekend trip to Bismarck last week, and sporting the Bismarck Larks hat, and got to see Mr. Lark play 3 times. He only went 6 for 13 only. Okay, a couple of walks.
He's swatting almost 500.
When we were there for those 3 games, he was 6 for 13. That raised his batting average, if I remember right, as of last Sunday. I think it was like 376.
Whoa.
A couple of walks. He scored 6 times, and they won all 3 of the games that we got to watch against the Mandan Flicker Tails, which George thinks is the coolest.
That's a great name.
That's the coolest name.
Let's go Flicker Tails. Let's go.
No, I didn't realize that what a flicker tail was. I thought it was a bird going in, but it's a gopher basically.
Oh, well, you see I didn't know that.
See,
either.
You learned something.
Yeah.
So Wyatt's dad, Daryl, was out there last weekend, and so we had a chance to sit down and talk baseball and everything else. And what do you want to talk about there, Stud?
Tonight at 7:30, Tonight at 6:30, Marlins play the Mets.
The Mets. Oh, the hated Mets.
Yeah. Well,
is he a Mets fan or a Marlins fan?
I thought he was a Golden Knights fan, but maybe it's not.
He's a Golden Knights fan, yeah. They must play. They must play today or tomorrow, right? Tonight? No. The NHL's got 6 elimination games today.
Yeah, we know one of them too, don't we?
Which maybe we could move to next.
Yeah, we can, yes.
One is on now.
One is on now. Well, 2 of them are on right. Well, did the overtime game end while I was driving out here?
4-3.
4-3 who? Nashville or Arizona finished? Okay, so there you go. That's about as fresh as I can make it. Nashville and Arizona, and former Wild goaltender Darcy Kemper in goal for Arizona, and they were like, what did they say, 22nd or 23rd in the NHL as far as winning percentage, and they take down the hated Nashville Predators, which has got to be maybe one of the bigger upsets around there. So earlier today, the Islanders eliminated the Panthers. Yesterday, Calgary eliminated Winnipeg, and Carolina eliminated the Rangers. And of course, tonight, as we tape this on Friday evening, the Wild looking to stay alive after, geez Louise, a 9-9. I don't think they're playing horrible hockey. They're just not taking full advantage of the opportunities that they're getting. They've played well enough to win those games. The scary part is through 3 games, they do not have a 5-on-5 goal. They've either scored shorthanded or power play goals, and Fiala has just been lighting it up. He's got 3 goals, and Spurgeon had 3 points in game 1. And so it's been interesting to see what is happening there. And again, hopefully they'll get it to a game 5 on Sunday.
Yes, that would be fun.
And it's Stalock's done all right in goal. I think he's given enough, made a nice enough save on Thursday's game to make the top 10 on ESPN on Friday morning. And like I said, we'll see what happens. They just, everybody was talking about Dumba coming back. He hasn't been a factor in this series. not offensively, I should say. He just doesn't seem to be into it. We just haven't been able to get anybody else going except Fiala and Spurgeon, and it's just it's a little frustrating. And then they got their backs against the wall.
Well, it is, and I'll tell you, it's always been my experience this time of year or during the playoffs. Goaltenders sometimes turn miraculous. They can do. Do they have wings? What are they doing? And how can they do those things? And if the team's going to be successful, they're going to have a hot goaltender or even two. And it's and these guys really have to hold the line this time of year, and that's what I enjoy most about playoff hockey.
You got a Montreal-Toronto update or Pittsburgh? Yes, excuse me. 0-0 in the third period on Sidney Crosby's 33rd birthday. How can he only be 33 years old?
He's been doing this forever.
Forever. I thought he was like 133. Anyway.
11 minutes to go in the third period.
11 minutes to go in the third period. So there's your update as we play the game here. And
they listen to the hockey around here. I don't know why.
I'm sure it's very, very important.
They know very little about wrestling.
I should also mention before we left baseball that the 19U baseball team had their season come to an end last weekend, kind of in tough fashion. They ended up losing twice to Eveleth in the tournament, and they lost 4-3 in game one and 2-1 or 2-0. I thought I had it written down, but I didn't. But a couple tough losses to Eveleth to end their season. But one bright spot, Blaine Humbert got a 5-inning no-hitter.
Oh boy,
way
to go, Blaine.
Virginia on Saturday night last week. So good job to him. And so that's the baseball. Where do you want to go next? You want to go college football?
We can try a little college football.
Well, man, that's a crazy place to go.
It's a crazy place to go, and I'm going to, of course, start off with a little controversy.
Okay.
Right now between the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, there is an organized effort by the athletes to present the situation to the colleges and to the NCAA about the virus. These players, Tim, they now know that they hold most of the cards. They presented a list of demands to their respective schools to be met before they prepare for their season. They are the ones that have the most to lose, and I mean that's financially, that's health-wise, that's everything, and they know that. As one parent said, they are acutely aware they control both the supply and demand of college football. Their message is, the games can't go on without us. There's revolution all around, and don't think that any of this other discord and unrest is not part of this. Okay? Bemidji St. Just, the junior quarterback transfer from Michigan, cornerback, not quarterback, he was instrumental in helping create the Big Ten United. And this invited all kinds of athletes, for making the conference and NCAA greater care for the athletes' well-being during the coronavirus pandemic. Now listen to this story. Cassidy Woods, a Washington State wide receiver, informed his coach, Nick Robotovich, that he was opting out for the season because of the pandemic. The coach said he understood, but when he asked if Woods was part of the players' initiative, Woods said he was involved, and Robotovich replied that would be a problem and told him, and ultimately defensive tackle Dallas Hobbs, to empty their lockers. And, at that point in time, they start taking a look, and you can find the list of their demands, and there are 12 or 15 of them down there, and not all of them the coaches or the conferences or the NCAA are going to agree with. And there's like 1,200 people involved in this, athletes. So this is a big time situation. This is not going to go away.
Yeah, it's not going to go away, and I think the head coach that you referenced from Washington State is he's going to find himself possibly in a little bit of trouble for that comment that there could be issues, and obviously, if we seem, and this might be a bad example on the fly here, but we've got kids who get accused of all kinds of stuff. Robberies, sexual assaults, everything else. and we do everything to keep them on the team, but a kid joins the alliance and they get told to clean out their lockers. That's a different animal.
Well, on top of that, this all of a sudden turns teammates onto teammates too, and there's a lot of controversy in it. It's not so much that Woods and Hobbs, for that matter, aren't involved in student activities. They have been since the get-go, and these guys, they know what they're doing, what they're standing up. It's like the guy that came up the other day. They would do what Eric Eversley would do.
Yeah.
And and so I have to wonder just what's going to happen. But boy, I'll tell you, this isn't over with yet. A couple of other college things.
Yeah.
Clemson and Ohio State were the top teams in the country, and then Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, says to Jim Harbaugh, "We're going to put up 100."
But what did Harbaugh say first?
Why? Who knows?
Harbaugh said this: "We have pictures of you that you were coaching before the
that's what it was.
The timetable."
Yeah.
And then Ryan Day said, "You worry about your team," and then said, "I'm going to try to put 100 up on you." Well, October 24th, as far as I'm concerned, if they get a chance to play, can't come fast enough.
Oh no!
Because I want to see Ohio State put 100 up on them. I'm not a Ohio State fan, but I want to see them try. This is going to get fun. I mean, the talk beforehand is going to be.
Look at it! You never heard anything like this between Woody Hayes and Schembechler. I mean, and it's who knows what's going to happen. Some other bad news: Rashad Bateman, he's opting out at the U. Rashad Bateman, if he wasn't our best wide receiver every game, he was real close to it. And so he's opting out, and we'll go into the pool. The NFL pool next fall, and I'm sure he'll do fine.
He'll do great. It's unfortunate that the Gophers are going to lose their two best wide receivers and a couple of their best running backs in a hurry. And we all know that everything starts up front. We've said that before, and we'll continue to say that. The line is there. Now can they find enough bodies on the perimeter, enough speed on the outside to make teams respect things and open things up like they did last year. And of course, their schedule came out this week. And boy,
Michigan State right off the bat.
Is it front loaded?
I noticed that.
Michigan State, Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska, first 5 games. I'm not saying that Michigan State is not the Michigan State of old. Michigan's going to be very good. Iowa is good. Wisconsin is going to be good. Nebraska always seems to, I don't know,
have
something going on there. Those are the first 5 games. Then Indiana, Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, and Maryland to finish it up. So the second half of the season, if the Gophers go through that first stretch 4-1, they could have a heck of a season. But we'll see what happens. Of course, all dependent upon how the virus and everything plays out. And the Rutgers had a big party. They ended up with 28 athletes get the virus.
You figure Rutgers? It sounds like a smarter school than that.
Yeah, you would think that they'd have that taken care of, and so not a good plan there. And of course, Louisville, I don't know if you heard about their soccer players. They had 6 soccer players kind of organize a party. 3 of them were dismissed from the team. The other 3 were suspended, just kicked right because they basically said, yeah, we're having this party. And so Louisville had some major number of kids get the virus. And so they just booted them. That's enough. You knew the rules coming in when we came back.
You can destroy a team.
So there's still some schools out there. UConn shut down their football program for the 2020 season. They were going to be an independent. They said they're all done. And of course, I found this maybe as a little bit of a surprise when you talked about Clemson 1 and Ohio State 2. The Gophers were number 18.
Number 18.
By the coaches.
They ended the season at number 10. And you kind of wonder about that, but,
18?
Two wide receivers, two wide receivers, a couple of running backs.
And somebody said, did that vote come before they knew Rashad Bateman was leading?
That is the question.
I think it has to have a little bit to do that.
Yeah.
Of course, North Dakota State in their Summit League, that's not right for some reason. That doesn't click right. Their league decided to shut the football season down because the NCAA, the Pioneer League, and one other of the FCS leagues had shut down their seasons, and they did so as well. So that'll essentially shut down any FCS championship game this fall. We'll see what happens after.
Well, and that's what they had in the same way with D2 and D3.
They shut
canceled
everything
their
down.
championships down for the fall sports too.
So it's starting to get grimmer and grimmer for those sports. And
Bright spot.
so
Marcus Carr come back.
Marcus Carr came back for the Gophers
Yes.
this week, and not surprised. I think I was a little surprised last
he went out,
last
yeah.
spring, when he said he might leave, and he came back out of the draft business and came back.
Tell me about the Loons.
Let's talk one more thing of football
Okay.
before. Well, we can talk.
I can go back to football anytime.
Well,
Yeah.
we can talk about football
Yeah.
lots. PJ Hall,
PJ.
defensive tackle, was going to fill in for Michael Pierce, and got traded from the Raiders to the Vikings early. That was on Monday,
And he
Sunday,
he was
something
positive.
like that. And then he came in and failed his physical, and that was the end of that. And so the Vikings are still searching for a defensive tackle.
That's
And
that nose guard that's so elusive that Johnson. Oh
yeah.
boy.
So, and then Spielman got a new contract. Rick Spielman, new contract. So now Zimmerman sewed up. Spielman, they've
They've been waiting for that for a long time.
So now you know that what we're going to have over the next couple of years, and we'll take care of that. Loons.
Loons.
Loons, nice win on Saturday last week. Really kind of dominated the game. They really looked like they had things going on. I was watching it while I was watching Wyatt play baseball, as I said I would.
Yes, yeah, you can do it.
I watched the second half, and then unfortunately last night they ran into, can I call them the home team? There's not really a home team in the MLS.
Well, it's
Zach
Orlando
Tournament.
City. It's got to be something.
Orlando City playing in Orlando, and I didn't get to watch the first half because of football practice, and fortunately they had like a 65-minute lightning delay, which allowed the match to be pushed back so I could watch the second half.
Oh, that was nice.
And they had some great chances to tie it. They were down 2-0, and they scored in the 83rd minute, and then had a couple of chances to tie it, and just couldn't. And then while they were trying to push that second one in, they gave up the third one. Everybody was up by the net. So their tournament is over, but they made it to the semifinals, the Final Four. Nothing wrong with that. They'll
Won the
head home.
finals
And
last year and semis this year.
so we'll take what we can get there. And like I said, they're playing some good soccer. It's actually their first loss of the season. They've played
that's right,
seven
it
or
was,
eight,
wasn't it?
7 matches, and so that's their first loss of the season. So nice job by the Loons, and I know they're hoping to get home. They're going to come home. I know they're hoping that maybe they'll get to play in front of a few fans, maybe by the end of the season. And I know the Packers announced that this is weird. The Packers announced that they're not going to have any home fans at their first 2 home games. I thought, geez, that's kind of weird. Do you realize they don't have their 3rd home game until November?
You're kidding me. You're going on the road there for the next 5 games?
Well, they've got 2 games in the first 7, I think, and a bye week in there, I think is how it works. But they have, in September and October, they have just 2 home games out of their first 7, I believe. So the NFL was not nice to the Packers early on, and I think the Vikings are one of those games, right? First game of the year.
I believe that's right.
So I haven't quite looked that far into the future, but it'll be interesting to see if the Vikings will be able to have some fans. Like I said, whether the Loons will be able to have some fans, we'll see how things pan out with the numbers and everything else. So now that we've kind of returned to Minnesota, do we get to talk about the high schools? Is that what we want?
That's what you're here for.
Well, it was announced late last week. Early this week, on Tuesday, with what's going on after the school announcement last week about the numbers and where everybody's at, and everybody's got a calculated number per 10,000, and that's going to determine how you go to school and what you're going to have at school. And the State High School League had their big meeting on Tuesday, and they started off with the lower profile sports, and that's no dig at any sport. I love them all, but they started off with, I think, the easier decisions.
Sure.
They started off with cross country, which they said, go ahead and do what you got to do. They talked about tennis, and there was some scuttlebutt on that, whether they were going to let them go, and they said, oh no, go right ahead and do that. Then came girls swimming and diving, which I thought was going to get the chop right through, and as soon as I saw that, I went, whoo, they're going to let this thing fly. So then came boys and girls soccer. And I thought, well, we're going to find out what's going to happen. And when they said boys and girls soccer is on, I'm like, we're going to have a football season. Well, then came volleyball, and volleyball tied 2 votes of 9-9. And then they finally voted 11-7 to exchange the season into the spring, from March 15th to May 15th. And then the football came. They were the last one, the biggest one, of course, with the most participants. And I think with everything that goes on, you know, Friday Night Lights, you only usually play once a week, and it took a vote of 11-7 to say we're going to do the same. We're going to push the season back, and there was a lot of upset kids. I think our kids for the Broncos, I thought were very, very good about it. Disappointed, but I think they understood. I think the biggest thing that helped this was that we still have a chance to have a season, even though it's going to be 6 games long. And it's going to be at a weird time of the year, probably with that first game probably being around March 30th, 27th, somewhere in there, and get a couple weeks of practice in, no scrimmages, and play within your section, your district, more, and keep everything local. And of course, that's all up for debate. That things could go the opposite way, and things could get progressively worse.
So we start the season when it's really cold and work towards a warmer end.
And then the season's got to end by May 15th, so that the spring sports, the traditional spring sports, will now be in the summer.
And they'll go from June.
They'll go May 15th to July 15th.
July 15th.
So, of course, there's a lot of AAU coaches and Legion coaches out there that are upset. The Minnesota State High School League doesn't care, blah, blah, blah. And it's just kind of like, well, you know, they got to do what's best for their kids, everybody. And, of course, you know, the AAUs and the JOs and everything else that's out there for these, what I'll call the elite kids, for the top shelf kids. The Minnesota State High School League is worried about every kid.
Every kid.
Not just the elite kids. So
yeah,
they weren't concerned about that. And I mentioned, I had to say something on Twitter about that, and I got couple of serious backlashes that, you know, the State High School League should care about the kids. And I'm like, well, not just the elite kids. And, well, anyway, it's a tough thing. You know, the seasons that are going to play, 20% less weeks. So for like a soccer season, now you're going to take probably 3 weeks out of the schedule. So starting on August 17th, but now probably being finished by MEA weekend. 30% less competition. So again, do the math on it. If you had 15 scheduled games, now you're only going to play basically 10 or 11. You can only play 1 or 2 games a week. No big tournaments. Cross country meets can only have 3 teams, Adam.
Ooh.
And of course, that's, you know, for those bigger schools. Think about the schools up here. 3 teams. It's going to look pretty bleak because, you know, a lot of teams up here will only have.
Heil Pike is huge.
Yeah, and I would assume that if there is a Heil Pike, it'll be. So, but anyway, there's those things to be concerned about, and it's going to be different. It's going to be funky. It's going to be. Well, just like everything else over the last 6 months, it's been really different. And the one thing that kind of surprised me was that they said spring sports from last spring. So the baseballs and the lacrosses and the track and fields and the golfs and all the sports, softball from the spring, can all practice this fall. And the volleyball team and football teams that are getting their seasons moved back to March 15th can also practice. And of course, now we're waiting for direction on when are those dates going to be.
And what are they going to do with basketball?
Well, basketball, they're talking about shortening up their seasons, again, just like these teams had to. And but for right now, they're thinking that everything's going to be kind of as is.
Okay.
With that season starting March 15th, the volleyball and football season, that's what I'm going to call it, starting on March 15th, I would assume that would mean that all the winter seasons will probably be pretty close to done. But maybe with the arenas and everything else, they're still thinking, can we even have a state tournament? I know with the shortened football season, there's discussion already that there would be no state tournament.
And the high school league's really hurt. I mean, this is a big source of revenue.
Financially, it's a big hit.
Yeah.
So, with these teams moving, and so, you know, I'm figuring some coaches, I think, are thinking that we should get like 6 or 8 weeks of football practice. That's not what's going to happen. I'm going to guess that they might get 10 practices in each of those teams, not to be overlapped. You know, the spring sports early on, maybe the football and volleyball.
Maybe
a
they
little bit
could
later.
spend time in the
He's got an
weight room.
update for us.
Montreal's winning 1-0, third period, 2 minutes left.
Nice. Send those silly Penguins home. after they beat my North Stars
Yes.
28 or 9 years ago. Anyway. And so the sports, the high school sports, we'll see what happens, and hey, we might have to do a swim meet, you and I. We may have to broadcast on KCC TV.
Oh, I'd love doing that.
I don't know if they'll let us in, but we at least could have the camera. We could do it like the big professionals. We could put a camera inside and we can watch it on the camera
And
do
in another room, yeah. Like the big shots.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Like the big shots.
It's possible. Well, everything's possible.
Sure.
When it comes down to that. So.
I got a couple of things here.
Yeah,
Just stop.
I got 2 or 3 more things, but go ahead. I've been yapping way too much.
No, that's okay. I don't know if you knew Kenneth Bergstead. He was a teacher and a coach, and truly remarkable man. He served in World War II and in Korea, and he eventually wound up at Alexander Ramsey High School. That's Roseville thing. So Alexander Ramsey. He coached wrestling for 22 years. In that time, Bergsted's teams won 5 conference championships, 8 district championships, 3 regional titles, and in 1960, a state championship. Bergsted's record over 22 years was 197, 70, and 5. Now, he passed away last week at the ripe young age of 97.
That's
now,
good life.
I bring this up because there's an International Falls connection to this.
Yeah, I was told about this International Falls connection, and I actually read it in the Star Tribune, probably just like you did.
Yeah.
And I kind of read the name, and I just kind of read over the top of it, but...
No, but it was Tom Bergstead was his little brother. And he is, of course, the iconic basketball, track, football. I mean, Tom Bergstead would sit up there with his glasses and put his glasses on. He could see everything. He was a very, very fine coach in the 50s and 60s. So there's somebody here that's either played for Tom Bergstead or knew him. Anyway, I want to give the condolences to the Bergstead family. Kenneth Bergstead, truly remarkable man and deserving acknowledgement. 22 years coaching wrestling. That's
a lot of years.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So, are you wanting to finish with your outlaw story?
If you can put whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, I'll put a couple of things in here.
Okay.
Of course, the Lynx.
The Lynx.
Nice start.
They do have a nice start.
After last week, after I said they didn't look like they were playing very well, are sitting at 4-1, and they found themselves maybe a diamond in the rough. Did you hear about this?
Well, yeah.
You heard about Bridget Carlton?
Bridget Carlton, yeah. Where did she come from?
She's from Iowa State. You know, the basketball powerhouse that Iowa State Cyclones are. She got her first ever start and scored 25 points.
Well, they had a picture of her in the paper.
11 for 16 shooting. That's phenomenal. And the scary part about her was she hit 3 threes. And she's 6'5". So maybe the Wild got themselves a new weapon. They are playing, as we tape this, they are playing Indiana, I believe. And maybe some really better news. The Lynx might be getting their best player, one of their best players, Odessa Sims. She had a baby here 2-3 months ago. She had to come in. She finally got inside the wubble, as they're calling it for women's basketball, not the bubble, the wubble. And so she's going to be in. She's got to sit out about 4 days, and then she'll start getting herself into shape. And so, hey, maybe in this 22-game schedule, the Lynx can find a way to get a few things done and get themselves on their way.
Well, you know, and speaking of the bubble, the NBA bubble, I watched the Denver Nuggets play the other day, and
you got to watch your man Bol Bol.
I watched Bol Bol, and so the one announcer says, whatever questions the Denver Nuggets have, the answer is Bol Bol. And so I noticed the next night he was he scored 1 basket and 1 free throw for 3 points, so he didn't have such a hot night. But I just like that The answer to all the Denver Nuggets questions is Bol.
Are the Penguins gone?
Penguins are gone
2-0. Got an empty netter?
Yep.
Got an empty netter. The Penguins are gone. There's the upset of upsets as well there with Montreal coming through. Pittsburgh was 5, and now Montreal, the 12, takes them out in four games. Wow.
Montreal's going to
They're going to the playoffs. So, and then of course the PGA Championship.
I'm telling you,
is going on
Tiger's
in
back
Sacramento.
on the stick. I don't know how he did today, but he shot a 2-under yesterday, and it's, you know.
Yeah, he played well in the colder weather because he went off in the morning. He went off this afternoon. Matter of fact, he teed off at 3:58 our time.
Okay.
And so Jason Day and Brendan Todd were the day one leaders. They had shot -5. They were the two leaders that had shot 65s. Koepka and a host of others were at 66, and a whole bunch of players. Tiger was -2, and then there was some action already today, and they were talking that the wind was very calm this morning, and there was a 63 and a 64 and a host of 65s in the morning session. So some great scores, but they were saying the wind was starting to pick up, and so the afternoons were Tiger and Koepka and Justin
They gotta
Thomas,
fight the wind a little more.
the number 1 player in the world, who was +1 after the first round. They were going to have to fight the wind a little bit, and so we'll see what happens. It ought to be an interesting weekend. I was very surprised to see that ESPN has coverage of all 4 days. Because it's out west, it's gets into the evening time schedule.
Yeah.
So they stayed away from that, and so good stuff there with the PGA coming up.
We got good weekend stuff to watch.
We've got great weekend stuff
Yeah.
to watch. I want to go back to the U for a second.
Yeah.
They're asking Uncle Paul calling me right in the middle
Sure.
of the show. Come on. Anyway, the U is now going to be asking season ticket holders who have given their money to buy season tickets to say, would you just make that a one-time donation? And because we're probably not going to have any sports for you, we're not going to be able to allow you in. Would you just let that money stay in our pocket and help offset the thing? And so, of course, that got me thinking about my UMD season, Saturday night season tickets that I have for Bulldog hockey, and I'm like, what do I think about that? Because that's an $800 bill that you're paying there to go watch 11 games and everything else, and I'm kind of like, interesting.
Well,
So-
it really is, and a number of this is what happened at the Big Top down at Washburn, Wisconsin, where
Oh,
we go
yeah.
to. They canceled
Big Top's
all their
your taco.
concerts, and we had 2 tickets, and it was like a $150 thing. Well, do you want this refund? Well, no, we're hoping good shows next year. What can you do? But if some of those people put out an awful lot of money for those season tickets.
Yeah.
And it's and maybe some of them can afford to do that. A good many of them are just guys like us.
It's a tough thing. Everybody's going through it, and I guess if you can do it, you can do it, and if
Yeah.
you can't, you can't. Let me just take a quick peek at my list of things. Yeah. Let's end it with the Outlaws. Give me
You
that
wanna hit the
picture.
Outlaws?
Give me that picture. I'm going
Okay.
to take it up while you get started on the story.
There it is. Okay. I call this a baseball story. Sit down, kids, and listen.
This might be the biggest audience we've ever had.
It
George.
is. I'm telling you, and probably the smartest. It begins in 1870 outside of Boise, Idaho. The Idaho Territorial Prison. Now, you might not think that this has a whole lot to do with baseball, but at the end of the Civil War, baseball became really quite popular, and actually prison reform kind of gathered itself a little bit too. And so as it was, the Territorial Prison, tough place, Tim. Tough place, kids.
I'm
okay?
sure.
Tough place. Many Old West bad men. They had murderers, horse thieves, cattle rustlers, robbers of all sorts, and some of them quite dangerous. The authorities did allow them to play a little baseball. Records show that they had organized baseball as early as 1897. This was the beginning of correctional rehab. Now, the story has to have a little skirt. This is where the youth of America should listen. In 1911, Jimmy Whitaker became the second youngest inmate in the history of the joint. Jimmy was in prison for shooting, and listen to this, killing his mother.
Ooh.
Warden Snook appreciated his age and his gruesome crime, so it goes that Warden brought Jimmy to town for medical and dental work, and he bought the boy a bat and his glove. Jimmy seemed to have a little bit of outlet for his anger, and the prison got a baseball team.
How old was he?
11 years old when
you
this
never
happened.
said, okay, he was
11.
years-
I have
Holy
a picture. I saw a picture of him. He's about 13, and he spent about 10 years in prison or 12 years in prison before they let him out.
Wow.
But anyway, 20 years later, the team became the Outlaws, and they played local and regional teams with really good success. And they played until 1973 when the prison closed. Now, they played games at the prison, and earlier they would travel, and they would actually put them on a train or whatever they had, and they would go to the next community and play, and then they would all come home. And that worked real well till a couple of the ball players decided to take leave of the train. And then they played a lot of home games for a long time. There were no restrictions on who could join. Even convicted murderers were allowed to play, and they rarely used their own names. I have a score sheet in here, and here's some of the aliases. Pepper Martin. There was an original Pepper Martin.
Wow.
This is from 1932. Harry Dalton, Sam Bass, Cole Younger, Billy the Kid, Joe Jackson, Jesse James, Al Capone, and a guy named Bug Juice. But a major character was a talented ball player named Clint Allen, but he was better known in the joint and out on the street as Diamond Dick. Diamond Dick was more scallywag than hardcore criminal, with the propensity of making purchases with bouncy rubber-type checks. He bought things that he didn't have any intention of paying for. And so I take a look at this, and it's, 1932, 1933, out west, very little for a guy to do, no jobs. This is depression, hardcore depression. I'm sure there were hundreds and hundreds of scam artists running around trying to make a buck. Now, I noticed also on the score sheet that there was a guy named Claude Allen, and I'm looking at Claude. Claude was a pitcher. Claude was a catcher, and Clint was a pitcher, and I'm thinking, I'm wondering if they weren't brothers. So both of their names pop up, but he had propensity for making purchases he couldn't afford. He was arrested 4 times, 3 times for forgery, and once for drunk and disorderly. Dick's last visit to the pen was over a $63 forged check, and he had to go back into
I suppose at that time, $63, that was quite a bit, probably. Right?
Yeah, but
especially during the Depression.
On the field, he hit about 600.
Oh wow!
And they would go down, and he would throw 60, 80 pitches, and nobody had even come close to hitting him. He was really just a phenom, and if he wouldn't have been such a scallywag, he probably could have done all right by himself. But he pitched and hit the Outlaws to reputation, and one guy says they're a hard team to beat. And if you take a look at the back there, the back says,
stealing victories since 1897.
Stealing victories since 1897. That is my friends. The Outlaws. Now I have to say, I got to thank. There's people out there in Boise, Idaho, that are going to be watching this, and this is Kelly Horsley and the old Penn staff. You got a great prison there. I actually went to prison in there. Sue took.
Wait. As a prisoner?
Well, no, I was there, but these guys have seen the picture. There's a picture of me, and the cell was actually on death row.
Ooh.
And so I'm standing there holding the bars. Sue took the picture, and I think it's her favorite one. I'm actually pretty sure.
Could be.
They have a great landmark. You got super exhibits, great tours, and very nice. If you ever get a chance in Boise, Idaho, you got to go visit the prison. It's a good one. Anyway, that's the story of baseball rehab and Diamond Dick and Jimmy Whitaker.
We should get the kids in here.
Come on, you guys want to get a picture?
Get in here
TV?
so we can see.
Oh, come on back over here.
I know the 2 boys.
Okay.
But these two girls, they look like they might have some Luka chick in them.
They do have at least half.
At least half Luka chick?
At least half.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's got to be. got to be Hillary's, no?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
see?
Both
she,
of them.
She was sitting sideways, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's got to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are.
I'm Alex. This is Riker. This is Scott. This is Viv.
There you go.
We just went through their short names, but Scarlett and Vivian.
Scarlett and Vivian,
Scarlett and Vivian.
and the boys.
So what
No,
did you?
no holes in one recently. No.
Oh, you got to think about it.
He has one.
He's gotten one,
I've
but
gotten
not.
two. One of them wasn't seen.
So what did you think of my stories of prison?
That sounded fun.
It sounded fun. Wow.
Your grandfather knows how to tell a story. That's for sure. He's got a gift. So. What have you been reading?
I'm still reading Armies of Deliverance. It's a wonderful book, and I decided to take upon myself because I have the DVD series, the old Ken Burns series of the Civil War, and I thought, when's the next time you're going to sit there and watch that from beginning to end? So I read at night, and then in the morning I kind of catch up on the DVD videos. I have from this case, from this point in time, a thing called Rebel Yell about Stonewall Jackson, Master of War about George Thomas and Ulysses Grant, and another era person, Frederick Douglass. They're all piled there. They're beautiful. It'll only take me about 2 years to read.
You know what we're going to be talking about on that? What about on the turntable?
The turntable has been playing really, really good. And last night, after Sue left, I put on the Honey Drippers. And the Honey Drippers only recorded 5 songs. And this is part of the Led Zeppelin group that showed that they could play old-time rock and roll. And I put that on, and I entertained most of the neighborhood. And so it was cranked up a little bit. And what else we played? We played something a little bit earlier. We played. I'll tell you what we played. B.B. King, Joe Sample, and an orchestra, and a beautiful voice named Josie James. And it's a really great fusion of jazz and blues. And Josie James has one of these voices that when she screams, it just comes right over you. So we started off with that, and then I went to the Honey Drippers. Now, the music was pretty loud last night.
Well, I listened to AC/DC's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap from about 1975.
Oh, you've always liked that one.
So some good stuff there. And then Steve Martin in concert on an album.
He's got with Heroes?
Got with the arrows and the bunny ears and the whole thing. Sing King Tut at the end. So
King Tut's on that one?
King Tut
I've
is
got
on
the
this.
album. I didn't know that. Oh, good.
So there's the one he's it's him black and white in his white suit and black tie.
Yeah.
And, so anyway, King Tut was on there. So anyway, it brought me back because, of course, there's some, how do I put this, some adult comedy on there. And so my brother, who was 7 years older than me, he'd listen to parts of it, and then all of a sudden I would hear the volume get turned down because there were parts that I was, too young to be listening to at that time, even though he was probably under 18. So.
Well, I just remember Steve Martin. He came out for an Oscar presentation, and he walked out in front of everybody in their fabulous costumes, and he didn't have his pants on. And so he put his pants on in front of the entire audience and then give the presentation. Well, I don't know what he was trying to get out of them, but they were just incredibly laughing. They were all over themselves, and he kept that straight face and just put his pants on.
It's a master comedian when they can all do that, when they can tell the stories and not laugh about it. So, anything else?
No, what a beautiful day, though, and I want you guys to have a good weekend, huh? And remember, on Tuesday, there's Tuesdays are an election. So go vote.
Go out and vote on Tuesday for the primaries.
If you don't vote in the primary, then you got little to say about who's in the finals.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for the kids.
You'll see these two old men next week. Okay.